Well, like I said, if you're still betting on your own, thanks for keeping the books in business for Joe Duffy's Picks. You can see if you're watching on any one of the YouTube or Periscope or some of the other places that we're on. Joe Duffy's Picks 42-16 football, 36-10 overall. Recently, you got NBA, you've got 7 college football winners, some name plays. You got a bunch of stuff tomorrow. At offshoreinsiders.com, we got a free pick coming up in just a moment. Why don't we get to some great information for you? And some of the stuff you can find right there on joeduffy.net. We'll break this stuff down for you. The big sharp plays for today, the biggest public consensus moves, biggest percentage bets. And again, this is where one bet, a $5 bet does equal the same as a $100 bet, a $1,000 bet, a $10,000 bet. So-called contrarian information, and again, people who use contrarian information, I still use it. It's weighted in mine, not as heavily as it used to be, but we consider those square bets from the $5 player and the $10 player actually among the most valuable. That's why it is equivalent to a $1,000 bet when we're talking about the percentage of bets. Boise State, one of the stronger consensus plays of the year. You'll see the normal pattern of road favorites: Navy, Notre Dame, and Baylor. Now, this is for Friday and Saturday contest. Most lopsided bets in the terms of percentage of money, and therefore the biggest sportsbooks liabilities, well, Charlotte does have a very high percentage, but not as high volume as some of the other games. So, in total dollars, not necessarily a high liability, but they're clearly rooting for the other side. UAB, Louisiana Monroe, and BYU. And like I said, this is where it's in terms of money. So therefore, using the simple math, a $100 bet is worth 10 times a $10 bet, and a $1,000 bet worth 100 times a $10 bet. All right, some of the sharp versus square metrics. So-called pros versus Joes, but we don't like the term pros versus Joes because the best pro in the business is Joe Duffy at offshoreinsiders.com. But using those metrics, Louisiana Monroe and Wake Forest would be the sharp plays. I told you earlier in the week that this was really the biggest weekend when it came to football weather, and no exception. Here are some updates for you. Florida International and Marshall, 80% chance of rain. Louisville, Kentucky, 70. New Mexico and Liberty, 59. Obviously, this is percent chance of rain. Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, 72. Wisconsin, Minnesota, 66. UTSA, Louisiana Tech, 70. Maryland, Michigan State, 54. Notre Dame, Stanford, 57. Fresno State, San Jose State, 69. Lot of high winds, folks. Wyoming and Air Force, these are miles per hour, of course, 25. The following two, 17 mph. Rice and UTEP, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. Miami, Florida, Duke is 21. Baylor, Kansas, 22. Tulane, SMU at 15. Utah State, New Mexico, 16. UAB, North Texas, 19. Sit down for this one. 26 miles per hour will be Iowa State and Kansas State. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State at 15. Fresno State at San Jose State, 16. Army and Hawaii at 20 miles per hour. And again, we sharps, basically we consider once it gets above 15 miles per hour to be significant with the total. When you got precipitation but high winds aren't expected, the total usually drops and it creates a good opportunity for the over once the total drops. Because look, if you don't have high winds, you got the wide receivers. They know which way they're going. It's actually tougher on the defensive backs. But anyway, just a little insight there. We're going to have a free pick in a moment. Again, Joe Duffy's Picks, we just continue to roll beyond belief. Historic run, 42-16. Got a name play among 7 college football winners. 36-10 all picks, 6 winners. Friday afternoon total of the year is your named play, and I think, not mistaken, that one goes early, so buy right away. Get that at offshoreinsiders.com. Now your free winner, which is brought to you by mybookie.ag. Show your support for these free picks. Make a deposit. Use the promo code Duffy. You'll get the biggest bonus that they allow. West Virginia, plus a 13.5 against TCU. This is football. Road underdogs off a game in which they dominated in total yards, but yet still lost 162, 123-8. And when you have a big road underdog in a game with a low total, thus, you're talking about a large pup in which the odds makers are telling you points will be at a premium. Therefore, the points are more valuable than in a game that would be expected to be high scoring. But underdogs in those situations, big underdogs in low scoring games, or games that are expected to be low scoring, of course, 415, 306, and 24. When both of these systems apply in the same game, very impressive 65.7% winners. Again, offshoreinsiders.com will always be the place to go for thoroughly vetted sportsbooks that will pay you on time, and for sports picks where you're going to get paid a lot of money when those sportsbooks pay you on time. Your one-stop shop, offshoreinsiders.com, and if you're not already signed up on Twitter, it's at Offshore Insider. There's no S there. There is an S on the URL. No S because of character limitations on Twitter. It's at Offshore Insider.